Good afternoon, good evening, and good day. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Happy Father's Day to Father's out there. We have clear next spaces side chat going, but we don't get connected to it, so try again. So space. Okay, it doesn't take connecting anymore. That's a good sign. So, good morning to those of you on the spaces side chat. Finally connected. So let's go over to video feed. The audio there works. It doesn't. Background. And we'll go over here. We'll recycle this tab because the thing was already complaining about what I did with resources, even though it's got plenty. It's got at least 60 gigs of RAM just ready for it. And wait, no, 12. It's got 12 free just for this. And then it can always scavenge more because it's the only thing using the computer right now. It's going over to live. And then we'll edit this one to make sure it's got the right parameters because it won't. Well, at least not all of them. This is a live stream. There we go. And no, we didn't make it with AI or for kids. I mean, we try to be kid friendly, but we're not out there targeting kids. No AI use. And it's safe. And let's go over and make sure that the chat is set up correctly. It seems that if I come here after I start the show, the chat sets itself up correctly. It did not this time. Glad I checked it. Save. And okay, good on the X spaces. And now let's go back to give ourselves a little preview. Make sure this sounds like butter. And we're going to go to broadcast. Connect your encoder to go live, but we already have because you showed me a picture of me live. So there's only one way you could have got that. So it's excellent connection. And let's unmute. It doesn't sound bad. Not quite butter, but we're there. So again, happy Father's Day to those fathers out there. And I have good news. Good news, everyone. My gas struts have finally arrived. Helps look at the right window for this. The gas struts have finally arrived. And so I ran out of time from when I discovered they'd arrived sometime today to time to start the show to put them in the backdrop there. So assuming that my scheduling doesn't go just haywire, then the next not even next week, then the Tesla Life show that we do, the next Tesla Life show that we do will have me back on the good camera right over here that I'm touching. I was almost touching. I didn't want to touch the lens. I don't want to have to clean the camera lens. And let's go ahead and switch this view to chat so I can see what you guys are saying. And then the other project I was working on is at proof of concept stage. So the giant battery that I ordered on special for spring, it arrived, and then the new bifacial solar cells that I ordered, they arrived. Then I went out and got not a hand truck, but a lift truck to be able to pick up the 500 pounds of delivery. And it kind of just sat there for a while. Not that I wasn't making progress, but it was way slower progress than I had expected because I still haven't learned the algebra to expand a normal project length to one that involves small children. And then it got hot where we are right now. So it was really hot to try and work outdoors on some of the stuff. And I say outdoors because the garage is not conditioned, and it's also outdoors. And then where we are right now, the flies. Oh, it's fly season. That was I did not enjoy that. But it's done. we had, let me pull up a chart somewhere. Let's see here. Get the mouse. See, I was resisting moving the screen arrangement so that the mouse would be right, because any day now these springs are going to arrive, and they did. But it's still not quite what I need. Let's reconnect to the home controller. Let's go over to integrations. The app is all crazy. Let's close it and open it again. Fine. I mean, you can open it in the window in front of my eyes if you want. It doesn't want. We're going to open it in the glasses. Oh, you can see it drag across the screen. That's cool. So anyway, I dragged it across the screen, and there it is in the glasses now. It's huge. Let's shrink this a bit so I can. Can I what? Maybe after the show. I didn't say no. I said after the show. She wants me to help her with a jewelry kit. I can do that. Okay. I have the window open. Now I want to go into. Oh, that's cool. It's one labeled solar. This is a blank canvas. Well, then, who put that there? I didn't put that there. Whatever. Let's go to. Although that's a good room to move these devices into. Devices. It's too many devices. Let me go back to what I was doing before. Let's go to garage. No, I wasn't doing that. I was going into the integration itself. Let's go to settings, devices. Then we'll go to the monitor. Then we'll go to solar. Became unavailable an hour ago. I guess when I turned on the equipment to do the show, it's too far, and the Bluetooth is blocked. Whoops. Let's see what I can do with what it's got. What I need to do is put a Bluetooth radio in the garage. There's already one there, but the people who made it didn't turn it on. And I need to look into if I want to reprogram it or just spend the $30 and put another receiver out there. Let's see. Because there's a module I can use to plug directly in, which would also include a Bluetooth. So it makes it like, do I want to mess with his stuff or just do my own? If I just do my own, it leads further into this. Okay, let's see. That's the solar. What about the current? The current is still connected, even though the solar is not. Whatever. All right, so let's go ahead to share screen. Then we'll share our window because it's not the browser. I guess it could have been in a browser, but I didn't do that because I just didn't. Should have. Let's see here. I have way more applications open than I thought I did. Plus, every browser window shows up as an application as well. Let's see. I've got more browser windows open than I thought I did too. And that application can go. I need to hunt it and destroy. That one's good. I don't know what the child is crying about now. It's fake cry. It's very grating. She knows how to push buttons. Problem is, the buttons make you fight your nature to make the noise stop. Hey, that's chat mark. email. You don't need to see my email. Oh, this would be cool if, but if the computer doesn't have a connection, then the laptop surely doesn't have a connection. Almost there. This one will be cool. Ah, it was right next to the one we're in. Ah, okay. So share screen. And so this is the smart shunt. It's monitoring all energy going into and out of the battery. And so we can see yesterday it got up to about 40-ish%. It's not quite dialed in yet. It's really close. 35% it says. And then we let it die. And then it disappeared because it died so hard that the that the shunt got turned off. And then at 1 a.m. it woke up because that's when our super cheap power is for this area. And it woke up and it charged to what it thinks is 100%. And I cannot say if it is or is not yet. I will know probably tomorrow. Then at about 5 o'clock, that TOU window drops, time of use, and it started to drift downward, as well as the loads started to refill their own batteries. Then at about 12:30, we had enough solar hitting the solar cells that it kind of went to 100 and stayed there, and the rest of the power is going into the batteries of the loads, because they've been on since 9. That's why it was just drifting downward. And yeah, right at 9, boom, hit it hard. All right, so that's the battery. It consumed, so we're down 0.8 amp hours. So it's actually sustaining right now, which is good to see. And the current it's drawing 7.91 amps from the battery. It's putting in more than that. That's why I was trying to show you the solar side. The rest of that's just riding the DC bus straight out into the loads, which is cool. We've got 1900 minutes at this load. It's going to increase because the sun will go down. Signal strength is just how far this server is from the Bluetooth. I didn't do the temperature sensor because it's got its own temperature sensors everywhere, and that was an extra kit, and I needed to prove the concept before I go spend any extra money on it. Voltage is 53 volts out of a 48 volt battery. That's good. And there's no second voltage because, again, well, that's not again. They gave us the second tap, but there's nothing else second to tap, so I didn't. Let me hide this. There we go. Simplify my view a little bit. Same with the midpoint voltage. I'm not using a midpoint voltage. I could if I had 2 batteries. But at 30 kilowatt hours, I don't need 2 batteries yet. I mean, I have 21 kilowatt hours already installed, and this is feeding those 21 kilowatt hours. That's the load, and that's why I'm talking about charging the other batteries. Okay, so let's go back and see if we can't get the solar back. It still says unavailable for an hour. Oh well. And let's see if I can't find the existing batteries. This one will work. All right, so the one called Office is the one that usually does most of the work, only because it used to be the one that had the solar array on it. The one called Kitchen actually does more work now. Let's go in and take a look. Okay, so all of this is like controls and stuff. Don't care. We're looking for, yeah, the stats. Wi-Fi, USB. Total output power is 1.1 kilowatts. Total input power is 1.1 kilowatts. So it's drinking straight off the solar array. No, it's not. Solar array and its own batteries. It's got 2 extra batteries. And it's taking in 800 watts. So mine are the older units, and you can't just do the battery trick that you can do on the new 58 volt models. Yeah, the 58 volt models. Because mine is 15S, and the others are 16S, or mine are 14S, and the rest are 16. Either way, mine are not the right numbers, and hooking it up would either shut it down or see it ignore the available power. That's why I made the contraption I made it. And feeding it through the solar ports directly, literally the solar ports are hanging directly off my DC bus. They can take in 800 watts at 15 amps. And so they think that's solar. Well into the night. That's green brightness. Remaining time, 1200 minutes. 150 degrees at the MPPT. Interesting. Cells are a little warm at 91 Fahrenheit. Max charge level set to 100. It's displaying 81, which is a formula across the 3 units that are plugged into it. Input power is 0 AC, which makes sense. I have the generator set, but don't have the generator. Didn't buy it. Thought about it, but my whole thing is no combustion, so it was mildly appealing, but not enough to overcome the anti-combustion. Discharge remaining time is about the same, 80,000 milliamp hours, so 80 amp hours. Or 8 amp hours, either way. Input temperature is warm in the garage, let's just say that. This number got destroyed by the integration had it was off by a little bit for a little while. Had misplaced decimals. The other one will be closer because it didn't get solar during the issue. But there probably is a certain amount of megawatt hours I've been through it though. Charge time remaining. It's gonna take almost a long. But that's because it's charging slower than it's burning, which makes sense. Car charger. Where was I with this? All right, so AC slow charger power is set to 300, which ignores because it's plugged into their smart panel. So that's the one called office. Now for the one called kitchen. It's also in the garage. Not bad. Battery health is at 97%, and they were delivered in, 2019, 2020? They're lithium iron phosphates. I don't particularly baby them. So this one's not doing much work at all. Look how much lower the temperature is. Yeah, 50 volts exactly. So it can't do 58. Yeah, it's not doing anything. Look at that. 55, 5 minutes remaining. It's not charging because it's full. Cumulative AC charge. It's done a lot of AC charging, and again, we still have that rounding error there. Not rounding. It's a display error. This integration here. While it was connected, they had the decimal placed in the wrong spot. Cumulative DC discharge. Amazing that one's actually correct because it's got 2 batteries hanging off of it as well. The solar charging. That could be right. 12 kilowatt hours. Yeah, that's right. Because it was not plugged in during the display error. It was plugged in once or twice before that. But the one named office usually got most of the power. Because they used to live in different rooms. DC input temperature. 80,000 milliamp hours. That number should never change, the design capacity. Standby time is 0. Discharging is off. Yeah, so it's full. That's why, it's just sitting there. Full capacity is 777 milliamp hours now. So it's had a little bit of degradation. Not a lot. Not as much as my car. So this one is 21 kilowatt hours just sitting there. So it's got, interesting that the temperature is the same even though it's not doing anything. So it just must be that hot on that wall. Or its neighbor is just blasting it with heat and it's got a little bit toasty. They got fans on them. All right, so that was the input to this little project of mine here. Let's come back here. Interesting that the mouse movements. Oh, that does make sense though, because the mouse is okay. Yeah, the mouse is behind the window that you guys are in. So let's go here, and then it'll stop sharing that because I don't need it anymore. Then that view is not as easy to look at as the others. I can make a dashboard out of that. I'll have to do that. But that's my little project. It's actually up and running and it works. Now let's see what we've got in the notebook for today. Let's put this back on the main screen. There we go. Come back. There we are. And I guess we need a new window because I'm using this one. New. Then go to raindrop, open sidebar. Don't click date. Nope. Click the lines. There we go. Then we'll click today's date. There's 7 items in the notebook for today, in addition to my whole what we are working on today. Okay, so they go from the bottom up. So let's go with what I put in first, and then we'll go from there. And like I said, it's Father's Day. We probably won't go too much into the sidetrack. Okay, so this one is an X post. And we'll discuss. I'm going to share screen. All right, so Sawyer found the Cybercab. Well, he didn't find it. He found somebody who found it. The Cybercab specs have been posted in EPA documents. Its front-wheel drive battery capacity is just 48 kilowatt hours, so another half again bigger than the battery I have in the garage now. 219 horsepower, curb weight of 3,113 pounds, which isn't bad. It's not that small though. It's smaller than the Model 3. Gross vehicle weight rating is 3730, so it can take a little bit less weight than most of the other Teslas. Most of them are like 800 pounds, which is a really weird number, but like it seems to be kind of consistent across the industry, is that the passenger car can take 800 pounds, roughly. And so this one is, what's that, 600 and change. Motor power is 163 kilowatts, which people were saying is way higher than they'd expected. It's a Tesla. We don't make slow cars, blah, blah, blah. The quote. A couple of things go into that. You do want it to be able to safely maneuver around human pilot cars and not get run over, as well as you want it to be able to maximize regen. And then the other part of it is, just because the number is bigger doesn't mean that it necessarily is cheaper to go smaller. And they can always do stuff like computer limited, so it doesn't use all the power. We see that where I look at other EVs that are supposed to be economical, and they have outstanding power. It's not always cheaper to make it smaller like it is with a gas car. And so anyway, voltage is only 326, which is interesting because that makes it a 400 volt class car instead of an 800 volt class car, which means they probably left something on the table a little bit by the wires that are there are going to be twice as thick as they need to be. Twice or 4 times. The wires that are there are thicker than what need to be there for a 800 volt system. I'm assuming that it has a 48 volt low voltage system, but that's not listed here. At the very least, it'll be 19 volts because that's what the Model 3 and Y use today. But it would be really hypocritical of them to have not done 48 volts on here after their whole here's how the industry needs to go to 48 volts paper that they haven't given to anybody outside the industry. Then is a link to the finding. I've got a picture of the Cybercab. Multiple fuel combustion? No. Rechargeable energy storage system initiator or indicator? Yes. Rated horsepower 219. And the other thing that people are saying, you know, oh, it's so much power, blah blah blah. My Volt had about this much power. It was, well, total system power. It did. I think it was like a 90 kilowatt by itself on the battery only. Something like that. It was smaller. Like I said, fat Prius. Drive mode while testing was all-wheel drive. So that tells me that was probably the rather than, you know, trick the ABS system or whatever, just run it on the dual rollers. Aged emission components, 4,000 miles. I guess saying it wasn't brand new is a test piece, 4,000 miles on it. Equivalent test weight, 3375. NV ratio is 131. Number of transmission gears, 1. Creeper gear, no. Good. But at the same time, though, it'd be a little weird if it had creep, because why would you put creep into a vehicle that doesn't normally have controls? They did put creep back in on, like, if you put my car in service mode, it'll change from no creep to creep. I don't like that. But it makes sense for them to be consistent. It's weird they would be consistent in the worst way. Optional test vehicle model year 2026. Oops, test make. Hybrid indicator, no. Fuel cell, no. Rechargeable energy system. Storage system is a battery. Offboard charge capable, yes. I don't know how you'd get the energy in it if it couldn't. Odometer correction initial, 1. Does that mean 1x? Odometer correction factor is 1, yeah. I think so. Because they said it was a 4,000 mile aged unit, right? Odometer correction sign, system miles is equal to test odometer reading, initial system miles, correction factor. Yep, that's what it means. Odometer correction units is miles. Engine code is Lila. It's lithium, I guess. Lithium advanced? I don't know. Got the displacement in liters is 0.001. It can breathe, but only a little bit. It's naturally aspirated. I wonder if that's just the minimum they can put, or if literally they're measuring like the cooling that goes into the electric motors. Shift indicator light is not equipped because it's not intended to be driven. Curb weight, 3113. Transmission type automatic. All right. Let's see what we got here. Hybrid vehicle and fuel cell information. So supplement. Battery lithium ion. 326 volts. 154 specific energy. electric regen brake, front wheel drive, 1 drive motor, 3-phase permanent magnet, 1 battery pack with 146 cells in it. Okay. And the charger is on board. Driver controlled regen? No, because it's not meant for any driver controls. For one. Rated motor generator power, 163 kilowatts. Usable hydrogen capacity, none. Continuing on that one. Find usable hydrogen capacity. Oh no, it's just another set entirely. Seems a little wasteful to have some of these items multiple times. Federal clean fixed vehicle, yes. Federal fuel vehicle, I live. Yes. All right, fans over there reaching minimum, because that's not a reboot. You might not even heard him, hopefully. Microphone's doing its job. I didn't even check to see if we're using the right microphone. I just did the thing. Yeah, we are using the right microphone. Okay. Come back to you. Yeah, so that was the filing for the Cybercab, and it was interesting to me, and those were some of the contentions. And then Farzad seems to think that means that there's going to be a Model 2. We've already discussed why this is not the Model Next. They may share some stuff, but they're not going to share enough that what he's insinuating is it. Based on my experience doing Uber, Tesla could go even smaller on the battery pack than this. The average ride share is 5 to 7 miles. That's nearly 50 to 60 rides. You're definitely going to want to clean before you even use the capacity of this battery. But Tesla's also looking at the fleet. They've seen worldwide what rideshare drivers are using their cars for and how they are recharging them, and they can optimize further from there. They've also seen what they used on their own robotaxi, cybercab, their own robotaxi program so far, and the cybercab robotaxi is going to be sized to match that, or to match their findings, I should say. It's not 800-volt architecture like the Cybertruck and Waymo and the Zeekr. Is it wrong to still want to see it on the Nürburgring? It's not wrong, and I would like to see that. I don't know if it's allowed to send them. Well, if they just put somebody in the seat, it doesn't matter if it's autonomous or not. Put somebody in the seat and let it do its thing. Final useful life of 150,000 miles, a little strange. So he went through the filings and found the useful life of the federal tier 3, 150,000 miles. Well, it looks like that's the warranty. You look at California's EV, which requires 150,000 mile warranty. I don't think that's the actual useful life. I think that's going to be the warranty. Let's see what other people tell this person. That's just a government thing. The IRS has useful life standards as well that don't represent reality. And this person says they're CPA. This person's got screenshots. The 150,000 mile useful life mentioned in EPA documentations is a specific regulatory classification, not a prediction of when the car will break down. If the federal law, useful life is the period during which a manufacturer must guarantee that the vehicle meets all emission and performance standards, it does not represent the maximum mileage the car can actually drive. So as I suggested, it was the warranty, but the warranty is derived based on this. The warranty is derived based on how long it can meet the standard. And that's really why they're warranting it so long, because if it no longer meets the standard, they must fix it. And if they must fix it, that's part of the warranty. Standard EPA category, standard certification, manufacturers can optionally certify vehicles for higher 150,000 mile use, which I think they must to get to earn extra regulatory credits or to opt out of immediate intermediate standards. Regulatory ceiling currently is 150,000 miles. That's essentially the top tier for light duty passenger vehicles in federal emissions paperwork. There's no standard 1 million mile category in these specific EPA filings. Regulatory design versus design life, 150,000 miles, or Elon claims 100 million miles. Purpose is compliance with the Clean Air Act or economic viability for ride-hailing fleets. Manufacturer must fix defects in this period and optional lifespan before recycling. While it's just Cybercab designed for high utilization robotaxi duty with a million-mile lifespan is the economic goal. The paperwork only tracks up to the highest federal legal requirement. And so this came from his search engine AI, based on the tagging there. And let's go back. Tesla Club India. Put a 50 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate pack in a car and make it here. Thanks. Yeah, they've walked away from that. It looks like, or at least they haven't done it. 300 miles of range on a sub 50 kilowatt hour pack is crazy efficient. That is correct. I don't know how anyone's going to get close to competing with the cost per mile. Well, not manually driven, that's for sure. For those who want to compare to the Model 3 rear-wheel drive, this person got a chart together. So the Cybercab single motor and the Model 3 rear-wheel drive single motor, 219 horsepower versus 286-ish, 48 kilowatt hours versus 64 kilowatt hours-ish. Smaller curb weight of 313 versus 3759. Sorry, 3113. Gross vehicle weight rating is 3730 versus about 4400. The range, lab unadjusted, was 418. Adjusted was 280. And then the rated miles on the Model 3 is 321 right now to 363. So this guy's doing all the Model 3s, it looks like. Because the 321 would be like the launch, wouldn't it? 165 watt hours per mile, or 240-ish watt hours per mile. 0 to 60 is not rated. Expected 67 seconds. 5.8 seconds. Top speed, likely limited and 100 for robotaxi use. I don't think that the robotaxi is going to be going that fast unless it's in the tunnel. And capped at 125 on the Model 3. 2 seats versus 5. Cargo utility limited 2-seater design. Except it's got a huge trunk, cargo trunk. 24-foot cubic feet total. Trunk and frunk in the 3. 175 inch long versus 186 inches long. It's actually surprisingly lengthy. Didn't realize it came so close to the Model 3 in length. I was seeing it in the weight, but 418 miles range on 48 kilowatt hour battery. How is that possible? I want that. Then when you adjust it, still not bad. 300 plus miles on a 48 kilowatt hour pack. It's insane. So none of these people understand that they're getting the raw EPA number. Oh, it works out to 8.71 miles per kilowatt hour. Yeah, if you use the raw number from the lab. All right, continuing on. Let's go over to, let's touch the screen over here. Let's go over to the second thing. Porsche Taycan. I'm going to share that tab instead. The Porsche Taycan adds fake gear shifts so you can make your car slower. I like the headline. That's why I picked this one. The Porsche is updating its four-door electric supercar, or sports car, for the 2027 model year with a few consequential updates and one optional feature that I still cannot fathom why anybody would want. Because they like to give Porsche money. That's why. The Porsche Taycan is a downright venerable member of the electric car community at this point, initially having been unveiled in 2019. That's true, it is a little bit newer than my car. By a year. Over the years, it's received a number of updates and has shown the sort of performance cred that you'd expect out of Porsche as the current holder of the Nürburgring EV record after trading places with Tesla, Xiaomi, and BYD. And now the Porsche is announcing a new set of updates for 2027, including NACS DC port, bigger base model battery pack, and software improvements. So they finally got the NACS port on it after joining forever ago. And late, too, because that was supposed to happen in 2026 model year. It's 2027 now. Laggards. The most important change is the NACS, and their implementation is interesting here. Instead of having all charging go through one plug, this has a DC fast charge port on the front passenger side, which makes it easy for supercharger stations to reach the port when parking the Taycan nose in, and a J1772 AC outlet on the front driver's side. Nissan Leaf wants their mess back. This is not that big a deal as it's already the way that the vehicle was set up the first time. Nissan Leaf wasn't the first one to do it. They were just the only one to do it at volume. 2 ports is cool, but 2 ports that can't do everything, not as useful. I mean, I get if one can only do DC fast charge, that's fine, but if you can't DC fast charge from your normal port, that's just weird. J1772 AC port on the front driver's side. CCS adapter is included as well, as it should be. I say should be, but is not in most cases. But if it was the other way around, then yes, it better be. Because if you're part of the supercharger coalition and you can't supercharge, it's a little weird. One of the strengths is of the NACS is that you can carry both AC and DC through the same port. So it's a little strange to use a NACS port only for DC and a J1772 port for AC. I think it would have been even more. Whoop, I'm spilling brownie all over my desk. I think it would have been more weird if they did 2 NACS ports and one was AC and one was DC. Kind of like Nissan. Did Nissan do J1772 and NACS? I think they did the same setup here. But if they had done NACS and NACS, that would have been funny to me. Because there's no reason to have 2 NACS ports and then one doesn't do DC and one does. Only AC. They could do this better. And then the only bone I'm giving them here is that this is an old car. This platform is 2019. It's the legacies don't do continual changes like Tesla and even Toyota. Toyota still does model years, but they do more changes between the years than this. Wow, so inefficient. Still feels like it would be confusing to the newbies, but Porsche is confident its customers will be able to figure it out. If you're on the road, use the passenger side. If you're at home, use the driver's side. So it's not hard, it's just goofy. And wasteful and more expensive than it needs to be. Ports aren't free or cheap, nor is the copper to go in between, or aluminum. Base battery pack is going from 89 kilowatt hours to 105. That took a long time. So it went from the 90 kilowatt hours that the Model S was rocking forever. I say forever. Oh, for a long time. Longer than you'd expect. At the same time, though, they were at 100 before this thing came out. Like the 90 was gone by then. Weird. 105 was available in the previous model years, but now it's standard. So is there a bigger battery, or is everybody just got one battery now? To more efficiently find places to fill that battery, the 2027 gets an optimized charging planner. Ooh. We're not sure what that means, but when I played around with the preliminary software on the Cayenne Electric, I was impressed with Porsche's interface for finding and sorting stations. Who wrote this? Jameson Dow, okay. Other bits, software improved too. It has better voice control, more apps, more customizability, and better over-the-air update capability. Oh, finally. It brings the Taycan more in line with the current Cayenne and Macan EV models, giving it nearly all the same software and connectivity capabilities. Well, not bad. So you get it. You don't feel like you have bought an old model in new skin. These changes come alongside a bump in base price from $105,000 to $111,900, so $112,000. Good gracious. But you get more battery, which used to be $6,090. So it's not that bad. Large battery is now standard, meaning that the price of similarly equipped model has increased by a whopping $10. There we go. That's actually pretty good. For a Porsche, especially. Mildly disappointed with the absence of a smaller battery. This is a fine list of changes, all told. I don't see the point of fake gear shifts. Agreed. I do get it on, like, the Taycan used to have 2 real gears. I don't know if it still does. That would make sense to me, that you can do the upshift. But the new feature is called E-Shift. It's available as an option on any version of the Taycan and comes with a different steering wheel with a switch to activate the mode and paddle shifters to control it. Similar to what we've seen from vehicles like the Hyundai Ioniq N and Mercedes AMG GT EV. In fact, Hyundai names its system E-Shift, so the inspiration for the system seems clear. What they do, in short, is they make a single-speed, or in Taycan's case, 2-speed electric car. Okay, so it is still a 2-speed. Excuse me. That makes it feel and sound like a multi-speed manual transmission ICE vehicle. Why? I mean, I get Ioniq. They were going for like the trendy little young sports car guy crowd, but and gals. If it sells electric cars, let's just do it. I don't have to get it. Everything doesn't have to be for me, but it is still weird. Let's make your car slower. You're gonna pay more to make it slower. It uses fake engine noises piped through the speakers and a fake tachometer with a fake red line and fake gear shifts that momentarily cut motor power to make it feel like you're shifting gears. It's already a 2-speed. Just let them shift up and down. Call it a day. These systems have received a lot of attention on the theory that people don't want to drive EVs because they don't go vroom vroom. This is true for some people. Yes. Most of that contingent doesn't like being faked out. So, or I guess they do like being faked out. They don't like being blatantly faked out. So, and they already don't like EVs, and they don't like not being able to work on their own cars, even though they never do. Obviously, some of them do, but on the whole, no, they don't. Take them to the mechanic. The good thing is it's optional. I don't know. Happy for you if that was something that you needed. Porsche also includes a reinterpreted Porsche electric sports sound, a feature that he had an expectedly snarky opinion on the original Taycan. Here is an example of the sound, which replaces the old techie sound with one that now sounds like an engine sigh. It's not terrible. It's terrible. It's weird. What are they? So it's both now. It's definitely some more. Yes. Why? Then it goes back to electric. With a rumble. Weird. It sounds like it would interrupt my thoughts while I'm trying to just enjoy my music or just sit in traffic in peace. While I do respect the decision to go all the way to imitate even the worst parts of the internal combustion engine, power interruptions, rev limiter, and the noise of wasted energy, etc., I still don't see why people would want to make their car worse on purpose. tradition, baby. It's a fun party trick, something to show off to your friends or to journalists on a drive event, but not something most people would keep active during their commute or even on a track. You'd be surprised. Although even better would be as if turning that crap off would get you another horsepower, people would leave it off. We don't have numbers for the Taycan yet, but the Ioniq 5N is 0.4 seconds slower 0 to 60 and 1.1 seconds slower 0 to 100 when fake gear mode is turned on. I can see something similar happening here. It makes me wonder why people would pay for performance upgrades and then turn on a mode that neutralizes them and makes the car less responsive and less reliable, less predictable, sorry. And it's all especially a little strange to see on the Taycan, given that it already had fake motor noises, electric sport sound, and already has a real transmission, although it's a 2-speed rather than an 8-speed like E-Shift. We made it 4 times worse, baby. I don't see why people would want to make their cars worse on purpose, says the quote from Modern Marvel fan. Because you aren't the kind of people who would appreciate it. Like I said, it's not for me. People knows that driving a manual transmission is slower, but plenty of people who love performance vehicles still want it. So if you don't understand, this isn't for you. As I said, if it sells electric cars, do it. Just don't make it default, because don't make it the default. In the end, it's not that big a deal because it's all optional, and you have to pay to get the optional upgrade in the first place. E-Shift mode can be enabled or disabled at will, and I suspect the vast majority of miles will be driven with this turned off, especially after the initial wow period. I think even Modern Marvel fan knows that people will, if you turn it on every time, I think he knows that they'll not keep doing it. So as I said before, the party trick gets people in the door, serves the Trojan horse of electrification. I'll take it, but I wouldn't use it myself except to goof around. I wouldn't even goof around with it except to see what it is like one time or two. Tesla plans to sell modular AI data center hardware called Megapods today. We'll look at that. It's not on my list. And my list is, like I said, only 7 items because I had a busy week. From labs to logistics, China tests sodium batteries in HD trucks. Okay. Let me know when you're putting them in passenger cars. Or when you're selling more trucks with them instead of just testing. The wave's over. Royal Enfield's first electric motorcycle begins deliveries. Hey, we talked about this a couple months ago. These are the ones to India, I believe. Tesla driver says it was on autopilot before fatal Texas home crash. Press X to doubt. This was yesterday. Modern Marvel fan is the only comment? No, okay, I was about to say. Jameson says, a manual transmission does provide a meaningful benefit over an automatic transmission in the form of more control over the vehicle. Correct. But that's only necessary due to the narrow torque curve of the ICE engine. Whereas with an EV, the torque curve is flat, and you only need one pedal to have that much control. It would be like having 2 mice on your computer, one to go left and the other to go up and down. An unnecessary and unnatural complication on top of the already ideal control scheme. This is going to be an interesting conversation. How is a manual transmission providing more control than a modern automatic transmission? Or dual shift, the dual stage transmission there, what does the DSG stand for again? But it's got dual clutch. Well, one, manual control. My point was the argument for something that is degrading performance. Okay, so you're saying it doesn't matter, it degrades performance. But Jameson is saying that your example of a manual transmission isn't good because there is a reason for the manual transmission in that you have direct control over what the car is doing versus you say more automatics. You need a manual transmission when driving off-road, and it's very useful while driving a trailer in a hilly area to keep your brakes cooler and reduce wear. Both points are relevant in electric cars, especially in electric Porsche. I'll give you that one. And give you that one. You don't need a manual transmission for off-roading. You don't need it. It's the control, manual control. They don't want it automatic. Thus, they didn't get an automatic. Doesn't offer better control. It might not be better, but it is manual control. Keep the car cooler to prevent the transmission oil from boiling. Not necessarily. It can. But the automatic might do that just as well. Properly designed system should handle it just fine. Yes, exactly. And is an off-road use case as far as brakes are concerned. DSG automatic transmission can do engine braking as well. Yes, it can. But you have to trust the programming. You want manual control if you are a manual transmission customer. Just goes to show you don't understand the fun factor. You choose a manual sports car due to the engagement with it, aka it's fun. If you want it to be good as possible, read fast, you choose the automatic version of the same sports car. Case in point, the Porsche 911 GT3, much faster with the PDK, but not interesting to me. Whereas the GT3 with the 6-speed manual is a work of art to drive. More engaging and more fun, but slower. My car responds so rapidly and smoothly that it feels like an extension of my being. Fiddling with more knobs and dials to fight against the car's ineptitudes is not fun. It's frustrating. I've driven a lot of cars, and none of them have been more engaging than the Tesla Roadster. The original, I assume you mean. And that was the author there. Florian says, I think the U.S. is fundamentally the wrong market for this, since certainly more than 90% of the drivers there don't understand the concept of manual transmission. Ah, you have a necklace? Okay, good. Mommy made it for you? Gotcha. Manual transmission does not provide meaningful benefit over an automatic transmission in the form of bigger engagement. Or does. Okay, that makes sense. Again, there are people in the U.S. who buy that. Brian made it early this time. There you go. Happy Father's Day. Good to see you. I finished the proof of concept of the project. I'll tell you more later. Let's see. So that's enough of the Porsche with the manual. Mine too. We were in the car. They wanted to go on their deal hunting trips, and I looked over at the neighbor and said, "Hey, look, his dad came over for Father's Day." And they didn't pay any attention to it. And I said, "Yes, his dad is here for Father's Day. Oh, happy Father's Day." But happy Father's Day to you, my friend. All right, let's see here. We're going to stop talking about the Porsche because it's kind of boring now. We did pick out 3 other articles on my little sidetrack, but let's get back on with what's in the notebook because Brian would pick a different source than these. In restaurants, we staffed up for 2 huge holidays, Mother's Day and Valentine's. We had a special word for Father's Day. Yes. I saw a billboard a week ago, 2 weeks ago. It said, "Don't get Dad another tie for Father's Day." We called it Sunday. Indeed. I can see it. Totally see it. All right, so we talked about this one on the Tesla Life show, and so I'll skip it. Tesla adds a car vacuum to a supercharger for the first time. Let's go to Lucid Gravity. And we're going to share this tab instead and close that top one. What year was that ad written? I don't know when it was written, but that's when I saw it. It was a week or 2 ago. But like you said, Sunday, it could have been anything. Lucid Gravity's latest update brings hands-free driving and Google Maps information. So this one's interesting. After they brought back Jason Scar, after they made major updates at his prompting. So I'm glad to see they are making changes. The Gravity is the SUV over the sedan, the Air. On Monday, they said their big SUV is getting a hands-free driver assistance feature, and the updates add adaptive high beams and predictive charging power. I said adaptive high beams is something that I've liked on all the implementations I've seen so far. A new update is starting to roll out. Vehicles equipped with Dream Drive Pro will get hands-free drive assist, a feature that is currently under driver supervision and takes steering, braking, and acceleration on certain highways. I don't like the mapped highways thing. I want it to just be able to look at the situation and let me turn it on if it thinks it can handle it. Not the Blue Cruise and Super Cruise style. It's just another day. Happy Father's Day from me and Kacey to the dads out there. We get you and we appreciate you. That's right, Brian. Thank you. I love the adaptive. It just plain works. That would be a feature I want to see on my next one. Although, if my next is a current Cybertruck, that obviously won't happen. But the next one for sure. The new driver assist feature includes automated lane changing. Ooh, welcome to 2015, baby. Well, I guess, no, my car was a 2016. It didn't get it till 2016, 2017. But either way, welcome to the past. 10 years ago. Drivers can initiate a lane change by signaling a turn or letting the system decide when it's best to pass slower traffic by switching an automatic lane change function. So the automatic is newer than 10 years because that version of the car only had a single camera and its ultrasonics only had a single camera tied into the logic. It had two cameras, one into the logic and one out the back. And you could leave the back one on all the time, but it didn't use it. And the ultrasonics were too short of a range to trust to do anything except cancel your lane change. If you had a lane change on and it said there's a vehicle there, like just actively just sitting there in your blind spot, it would not do it. But it would have been foolish to let the car do automatic lane changes with that few visual sensors or that weak sauce of any other way of sensing vehicles around it that were not in front of it. So that part is newer than 2014 Tesla dual motor. Power from software from Neuro are supposed to hit the Uber app later this year. That's kind of cool. Ooh. Fake chicken. Thank you. Everything tastes like chicken. Let's see. The company says its new upcoming midsize vehicle will eventually gain level 4 self-driving capability. We'll see. What I will say there, though, is buy the hardware. If you trust the company will be there, and they offer a one-time fee, and you trust they won't alter the deal further, you may invest in buying the software up front. But if you do that, they will go for the revenue. They will go for the monthly in your pocket. So, not financial advice. It's just stuff I've picked up on. Yeah. So let's see. They're getting help from the NVIDIA autonomy stacks. We've talked about this a little bit. Like, I'm curious if everybody's got the base NVIDIA training pack, nobody's going to share unless it's part of the agreement, and then they're going to try to get out of that part of it. Nobody's going to share what they learn from their fleets with NVIDIA. So it's interesting to point that out, and I guess if you pay enough and they collect enough data on their own, the NVIDIA base pack could be useful in the long run, but in the short run, it doesn't seem that's going to be a good long-term deal. Software got off to a rocky start after deliveries began in 2025. Noticed gremlins when we tested the 3-row SUV for our Breakthrough EV of the Year awards. Key fob didn't work consistently. The steering buttons sometimes required several stabs, and we weren't the only reviewers to notice glitches here and there. So you get reviewers and Jason telling you the car has got some not so great software. That's when you do what Tesla did when they poached that security engineer from Apple. She shut everything down. Everything needs to be signed. Everything needs to be cryptographically secure. and then we don't do anything until the basics are handled. Then we go on with adding new features. So they need a program manager to come in, tell them, all right, we're only bug fixing right now. And then once we've got all the big ones fixed, then we can roll out new features. I mean, yes, new features on the spec sheet sell cars, but when you've got somebody like Jason out there who has a decent sized audience, telling people that your car is unreliable and that it makes you look stupid, it's not a good endorsement for your company. And then then you buy his car back. Sounds like the right thing to do, but that means your priorities are not straight enough. The latest OTA brings a slew of additional updates that go beyond hands-free driving. You get adaptive high beams, which Brian and I like. They register oncoming drivers and shut off the section of the beam that would blind them. Its navigation system now shows Google Maps as point of interest information, including reviews, photos, and improved business details. That's kind of neat. I'm sure that was mainly a UI and a monetary agreement rather than, look at all the other cars that have it. And then there's some cool stuff for EV geeks too. A new feature called Advanced Preconditioning View displays the gravity's battery temperature relative to its optimal performance window or for charging. Oh, so that's my ludicrous mode. Neat. And I haven't used that in a while. Let me turn it on again and see how they've updated it over the years. But I just haven't needed to heat the battery up because I haven't been to the track lately. And that screen now shows a prediction for, and it says, I want my mommy when you turn it off. I want my mommy. The screen now shows a prediction for peak DC charging power based on the vehicle state and battery temperature. That's why I haven't used it as much anymore, because navigating to a supercharger does that. I used to put it in ludicrous mode to get it ready to supercharge. Obviously not all the way, but like just a little hit of ludicrous mode to get it at the optimal number and then turn it off. All right, so that's Lucid Gravity. What was the one comment? Work from home scam? No, it's not. It's a bit ridiculous this car didn't ship with hands-free tech equivalent to Super Cruise. Agreed. Hey, Timothy's in the house. Greetings from Arizona, which will get its first Buc-ee's tomorrow. Congrats on the Buc-ee's. Yes. Sweet. So I would recommend, unless they have like unless you get there early, and they have like a grand opening special, I would wait probably 2 or 3 months and then go visit, and it will still be jam-packed. But at least you'll be able to, hear yourself think. Or, if you like grand openings, just do it. It's going to be swamped. It's going to be swamped. I don't know why. All right, this one's for our friend Anders. Share this tab instead. Sweden tells the EU to reject Tesla FSD unless speeding is removed. Sweden's Transport Authority has told the European Union it should vote against approving Tesla's FSD supervised across the bloc unless the system's ability to exceed the posted speed limits is removed. I think that's a step too far. Unless everybody in Sweden is really good at speed limits. But I can see them, saying make it harder to do. As long as it's supervised, I'd say leave it up to the driver. You think you're right about that? Yes. Love me some Buc-ee's. See, that's the hard part, though, is if you're familiar with Buc-ee's, it's like, hey, there's one nearby. I want to go now. And I don't blame you. So it might be a cultural thing. I watched a video essay day before yesterday from an Australian lady who was talking about how America has exported uncritical thinking to the masses. Or, sorry, not to uncritical thinking in volume to the world. Just by the nature of our educational and political systems and monetary incentives, etc. And then, we came up with social media and all these other technologies. Not just the technologies, but also our been forever there with our just regular media, movies, TVs, that sort of thing. We've been pushing our culture, our values on the world, and it was easier for them to take what they liked and ignore the rest until we did the social media thing, and then the flood the zone with garbage, just to paraphrase, meant that even in countries where they do better at critical thinking, like Finland, where they have to be prepared for Russian propaganda and teach their children how to think critically and figure out who is pushing this information on me and why and where it's come from and what are their incentives and what do they want me to do. One of her points was that we don't consider other places, especially if it's our tech. And a car that will speed by default. I've seen other folks in other countries horrified at the idea of, why is this thing going faster than the posted speed limit? That seems like another one of those Americanisms that we're just pushing on the world in this particular case. However, this is FSD supervised. So what I would want them to be more focused on is that sloth mode or standard mode or whatever they call the base model there. Make sure that one only speeds in emergencies. Like, somebody's aggressively trying to push you off the road or whatever. It does respond to that sort of thing, as we saw with Kyle on the track, chasing around somebody's FSD. I want to say it was Chris with Dirty Tesla. That sort of evasive mode would be a good example of why it would, even in base mode, violate the speed limit. But I think that's the bigger deal here. Personally, as an American. Let's continue on. Because Fred's a Canadian, and you guys and Mexicans are similar of mindset to us, because, we'd be neighbors. And you guys speed. Maybe not like we do, but you all speed. The ability to exceed the posted speed limits is removed. This recommendation, in a previously unreported April 30th letter to the EU's Technical Committee on Motor Vehicles, the TCMV, lands just before the committee is due to take up the matter on June 30th, out of an eventual vote on a block-wide rollout. Sweden's objection, a car that speeds on purpose. Swedish Transport Administration's complaint centers on specific Tesla feature, FSD, which lets a driver set a speed offset, allowing the vehicle to travel above the posted limit by a margin the driver chooses. I wish this would go back to a set number instead of just a percentage, because I could tell it 5 miles and be comfortable here. I do not like the percentage. I think mine's like 50% or something ridiculous. Whatever it was set to, I just left it there. And usually it's not an issue, but sometimes it wants to do something stupid, like 63 and a 45. And then I just use the brake, and then it gets the point. It's in the car. Hold on. I wonder what the car is telling me. Oh, you know what the car is telling me? It's probably, oh, I've got a story for you guys. It's probably telling me about this appointment that I made. Controls. Unlock. Let's open the trunk. I wish you could see it's unlocked. Let's finish this, and then I'll tell you about my FSD adventure and why I have a service appointment again. Boy, here we go. The agency told them that allowing automated systems to systematically exceed the legal speed limits risks undermining both the legal framework and the expected safety benefits of vehicle automation, according to their letter. Its conclusion was blunt: remove the speeding capability, or the committee should reject the technology. Failing this, the Swedish Transport Administration recommends that TCMV vote against the proposed introduction, the letter said. I think, again, American here, a better mitigation on this would be look at what your drivers do. And if your drivers are typically not speeding and somebody doesn't have to feel that they must travel faster to not get run off the road, which I think is most countries in Europe, they don't have that problem, especially like Germany or something like that. Then yeah, this is perfectly fine. But if you find yourself in places where it's just wrong, what do you do about that? How do they correct the data? If you get on a road and it says 30 kilometers an hour, and the speed limit is actually 60 kilometers an hour, or 100, and the car's not allowed to speed anymore, what do? Do they take over manually, or do they have to hold the pedal down? And then it's really going to depend on if they have a situation where, like we have here in North America, where the speed limit is set to some sort of median or feel rather than something objective and measurable. Again, barring any cultural differences with it. The objection is not new in substance. As reported in May, Swedish regulators were skeptical of Tesla's FSD overspeeding and safety. One investigator saying he was quite surprised to learn the system was allowed to speed at all. What's changed is that the position is now a formal written recommendation to the committee that will decide FSD's European fate. And how the EU-wide approval works. They secured their first EU approval in the Dutch region, and they're now seeking EU-wide approval on Tesla's behalf. But a national approval is not a European one, and FSD to be recognized across the bloc, committee members representing 55% of the EU member states and 65% of the EU's population must vote yes. That threshold makes the position of multiple governments, not just one friendly regulator, decisive. So I think this is fine if other countries don't have a strict adherence to the speed limit and they do have a problem with speeders. I'm assuming that they'll be a bigger country. They can just ignore that and vote it anyway, but you'll need enough of them, otherwise you'll have to go from country to country to get it done. So Sweden's recommendation does carry weight right there. I'm just curious to know from you guys there who actually live it every day is how is speeding there? I mean, I know you guys speed everywhere as well, like we do, but do you speed the regularity and I don't want to say quantity, but the amount of speeding that we do, like over the speed limit, and is it everyone or nearly everyone, or is it oh, that guy needs to go to the restroom. He's going, or that guy's a criminal. He's rushed out the bank and he's forgetting to blend in. I'm just curious. This stance, is it just politicians, or is this just regulators, or is this something held by the people? Sweden is not alone in its concerns. Finland and Norway have also flagged issues with the technology, ranging from speeding to performance on icy roads. That one's actually pretty important right there, performance on icy roads. Conditions that are routine across the Nordics on much of the year. Split among member states. Even as the Nordic countries pushed back, other governments have moved the opposite direction. Lithuania, Estonia, Belgium, and Denmark each have approved FSD nationally, since Netherlands opened the door, giving Tesla a growing list of countries where the system is legal. The patchwork is exactly what an EU-wide vote is meant to resolve, and exactly why a single firm objection like Sweden's matters. The more member states that line up against the speeding feature, the harder it becomes for RDW to assemble the qualified majority that Tesla needs. And the timing is also awkward for Tesla. Just days ago, we reported that Tesla was presented a misleading full self-driving safety data to the European regulators. Did they really? That's not good. That's not good. Stop being fast and loose with paperwork, Elon. Including a self-published claim that FSD could have saved 32,000 lives. That one seems easy enough to quantify if you just show your data. Again, if your data is not a lie. A figure independent researchers say rests on invalid comparisons. Sweden's letter suggests that at least some of the regulators are not buying the marketing. Tesla's framed FSD as central to its European recovery. The company's sales have collapsed in Europe in 2025 amid backlash over Musk's political activities. He says. BYD has outsold Tesla in Europe for multiple months as Chinese automakers gain ground. They are cheaper. Musk publicly projected EU-wide FSD availability by summer of 26. You're running out of summer. With Sweden now formally recommending a no vote unless Tesla changes the product, that timeline looks increasingly difficult to hit. Not really. You just got to turn off the speed offset feature. You already have a quiz when you turn on the thing. Come on now. Brian says, so it's definitely country by country because in Switzerland is a place where you don't speed. If it's 60 kilometers an hour, that's the max you go. Yeah. And that's why I was like, well, let me, take off the American lens for now. And then how I would base it on what actually happens in the country, not just what the law is. Because as long as it's supervised, if it's like Switzerland where people aren't speeding, then you aren't putting your people in danger by locking them into, you can go no faster than what the camera has detected or what the map says. And then the other part of it is in those places, what do you do when the map is wrong? Because I've got a couple places where either it's read wrong or the map is set wrong and the car does something stupid slow or crazy fast. It seems all right at the construction zones, so they seem to have found most of a way around the OCR patent on speed signs. Tesla did not immediately respond to Reuters report. Come on, Fred, you know that Tesla doesn't respond to anything. Why do you even put that in there? I know you're a journalist and all, but come on. You're writing to this audience. You don't need to put that there. And anyway, in 2026, Tesla started to recover from its demand issues in Europe, but it has more to do with high gas prices rather than FSD availability. Yes, but also if the company really needs FSD to survive or whatever, FSD needs to be available everywhere. So their take is some countries don't joke about speeding. Yep. Brian told us about Switzerland. It's generally understood that you can go reasonably over the limit at times. Mm-hmm. North America, that's why I was saying not just the US, not just Canada. It's in Mexico too. I remember doing a test drive in Copenhagen a few years ago, and some people were recommending that I cross over to Sweden for the drive, but I was warned to follow the speed limit there. Okay, so Sweden sounds like it's going to be more like Switzerland, and then this makes more sense. And that's basically what I was using all those words to question. Top comment by Bjorn. Is that our Bjorn? It's 29, though. Either way, speeding, especially on the highways, is fairly common in Sweden. There was my question. So I don't think it's necessarily about the speed per se, but the Transport Authority is a strong player, and they likely want to set the standard for automated vehicles now while there's a chance. Okay, they have a point there too. I get it. I would do it another way, though. I would let the people not get run over and I'd leave the control there for me to turn it off when it's the robots following the law versus people making other people drive faster out of bullying and fear. Or they could even say, hey, keeping up with conditions or post a speed limit, and if car following you is automated, do the law and don't get intimidated. Because people will bully and do bully. You can see videos or posts about people who cut off automated cars on purpose just to see what happens. It's a dangerous game to play for sure when you've got liability for a multi-ton robot that you just cut off, not just a regular car crash. Because the multi-ton robot is operated by a corporation with really good lawyers. Let's see. If they allow drivers of automated systems to set their own speed limits, it will likely be difficult to regulate later. So ultimately, it's a question of implementing regulations through the automaker systems rather than pleading drivers to follow the designated speed limits. So that angle also makes sense to me now. Where did my mouse go? There we go. Sweden's letter is a bigger deal than it might look because it moves the speeding objection from a regulator's private skepticism into a formal recommendation aimed squarely at the committee that controls the EU access. The objection is hard to argue with. Tesla built a feature that deliberately lets the car break the speed limit and is now asking the European regulators to bless it. The car let me do it. I just didn't drive. I wasn't looking at speed limit signs because blah, blah, blah. Well, in my case, I'm fully willing to take responsibility for that, except in some cases where I would manually drive and argue the heck out of the ticket, speed limit signs go missing and speed limits change multiple times on a road. And if I'm in an unfamiliar area and the robot picks a speed and shows me a speed limit, not the speed it's trying to do, but it shows me a speed limit, I'm inclined to think that the speed limit is somewhat accurate. Versus if it's just me generally manually driving and I saw 45 miles an hour, then you tell me, oh, this section is 35 and that section is 50. If the 35 sign doesn't exist, screw you, guy. I'm going to take this to court. Because how the heck am I, a visitor from Timbuktu, supposed to know that in this township, where they don't have a posted sign outside the township, that all the speeds are 25 miles an hour, 35 if posted? How am I supposed to know that road was 35? That's stupid. And that's America for you. So, yeah, I'd fight that one. But I can see them not wanting that excuse. Oh, the car did it, so I thought it was okay. But on the old cars, I assume the new car does this too. It tells you what it knows the speed limit is or what it thinks it is, and then it tells you what it's doing. So if they catch me doing a 50 and what I think in the car thinks it's a 45, but it was a 35 or a 25. One, how do we get that corrected? And what are the consequences of that when the car is locked in? Because the inverse is also possible. It used to be a 35 and nobody dealt with it, or they improved the road or whatever. And now it's a 55 and I'm doing 25. And now I've become a rolling road hazard. Worse, there's nothing that can be done about it because I bought a cyber van or whatever and it doesn't have controls. And, this law locks you in. How do you fix it? What's the mechanism? So there's no perfect answer to any of this, but it will be interesting to watch this play out. Where did my mouse go? There. And again, there's a regulatory culture that treats posted speed limits as law rather than a suggestion. That's why I was pointing out that the Australian lady was talking about how we export our assumptions of the world to the rest of the world, especially through our tech. Our speed limits are a strong suggestion or a mild suggestion, depending on where you are and what the conditions are. As Brian told us in Switzerland, no, it's not a suggestion. The law is the law. This is as fast as you can go. You can go slower if you need to, but do not go faster than this. Let drivers choose how much to speed is a remarkably weak pitch. yes, it is. And that's why I was weird about saying that was the way to do it. I realize how stupid that sounds, but there are reasons to allow that if the culture is not one of strict adherence to the speed limits. Sweden is essentially saying the fix is trivial. Turn off the part that breaks the law and we can talk. I have a feeling that we might see some more of those buttons there that allow you to turn off that mode and set an offset. Like third-party stuff. The deeper problem is that Tesla keeps approaching Europe like it's the US. That's why I brought up that video essay. Leaning on self-published safety stats, owner pressure campaigns, and a trust us posture. None of that travels well with the Nordic regulators who want hard, independently verified data. The real question now is whether the RDW can still assemble a qualified majority with Sweden, Finland, and Norway all uneasy. If it cannot, Tesla's European autonomy story stalls right where the company needs a win the most. Does Tesla quietly remove the speed offset and save the vote, or dig in and risk a no? Well, if he wants to become a true trillionaire, he's going to have to sell FSD in quantity. And if he can't sell FSD in Europe, I think that what's going to happen here is they're going to watch and see any of the cultures that have enough votes that don't care about the speeding and they blame it on the driver. If they get them enough votes, then they'll just ignore the Nordics. Or they pull it and they don't have to worry about it. And again, that's going to matter for the places that do speed a lot. This will be fun to watch. By fun, I mean exciting and interesting. It's going to suck for the people who have to be one way or the other about it. So we saw his comment. You're missing the point. Just because someone drives under the influence does not mean that the law should be changed to make it illegal. Same here. Just because someone else speeds does not mean an automated system should be allowed to do that legally. It's a huge liability for the approving authority. I don't know. What do you guys think in the comments? How do you feel? Should the speeding be disabled outside of North America and Australia and New Zealand? Or should they dig in their feet on this thing? And if you're outside of North America, put that in there as well, so we have a frame of mind for where you're arguing from. I think you were missing the point. Tesla's not arguing that driving over the speed limit should be made legal. What they're arguing is that the decision of whether or not to drive over the limit is not left to the driver, so that either they keep it that way or they change it so cars can't be told to drive over the limit. Saying drivers should be able to tell their cars to drive over the limit of the only car will not slow down if conditions make it dangerous. I see that argument. The grammar is hard to follow. Legislating exactly the opposite would make some sense, but doing what they are proposing is patently absurd. It also misses the point that sometimes laws are pretty arbitrarily designed. Yes, it does, but does that matter? And it's hard to take seriously when you see cops constantly break all kinds of traffic laws in just regular driving. Here in PA is not in Sweden. As in many states, your state, while it is a country, is not a European country. Is it illegal to turn into a multi-lane road by swinging into the far lane for safety reasons? Cops do it all day, every day, even though the law unequivocally states that that is not permitted. Safety is optional. Apparently, even when they are casually cruising around town. Again, not Sweden. Brian says that the word limit means something different when translated to English. I think it's the limit part, Brian. Laws for thee and not for me. Laws that bind thee, but not I. It should be with the flow of traffic. In the U.S., the U.S. assumes speeding and lowers the limits accordingly. Switzerland assumes the words have meaning and the limit is the limit. Yeah, I like that. And that makes sense to me that maybe they have a country table like, hey, limit or flow of traffic. And then they just remove the speed offset and just say, follow the traffic. And then hopefully the speeding waves would work themselves out in cases where there are more autonomous cars than human piloted cars, perhaps. But that would be safer than the offsets as far as giving a license to speed to the robots. I think. I'm not saying it's the answer. I'm saying it's an answer from somebody looking in from the outside. It's often easy for laws to become obsolete as traffic patterns change. Yes, that is true. And we don't pay our traffic engineers enough to come back and redo them. But is that the case in Switzerland, Germany, France? I imagine the UK is going to be more like us, where that costs money. We'll do it when we feel like it. So I get that depending on where you are, it's going to vary. But oof. And it's just not an easy problem to solve. Easy. I guess it is easy to get the approval, but it's not easy to do it the right way. And the right way being what works for the most Europeans. Ever see cars slam into each other approaching a speed trap? Ironic. People have a tendency to take their eyes off the road to check their speed while they're slamming on the brakes. These laws often don't have anything to do with safety, but as tools to collect slush fund revenues for the police to buy margarita machines. Sadly, that's not a made-up example, by the way. I've heard that example and saw the story. That was interesting. It's kind of a knee-jerk reaction to apply levels of scrutiny not applied to humans when the same fines for breaking the law can still be used if people abuse the system. But the goal is to remove the human from the mix. And so that one commenter had a point about if they open Pandora's box, can they get the control back? And I see that. Requiring a robot car to follow speed limits is Big Brother. No surveillance is necessary to implement this. I think we're about worn out on these commenters, but if you guys have anything else to put on it, I certainly read it. I'm curious. And if you're watching later, do put a comment. I do read these. I worked for a while in Sweden. The speed I worked with warned me where the traffic cameras were. Don't go over the limit there. But I agree with the traffic authority. It's one thing to speed when a driver decides to do so. It's quite different to set that automatically, which in practice means frequently going over the limit. This should not be legal anywhere. Autonomous systems should not be normalizing higher speeds. Saying that it is the driver choosing to set that speed limit is misleading. The driver set this limit 3 years ago while clicking OK through a million screens. The driver did this. I see what you're saying. A few drivers will modify the setting as they drive. Mm-hmm. To clarify, it depends on whether the setting means go slightly faster if the surrounding cars are going that speed, which arguably may be acceptable, versus setting the speed pace. One thing I will say here, I've noticed that in the latest little micro mini update to my FSD that they claim they're not doing, at night on most of the swamp roads and a few other places, the thing is stuck soundly to the limit, and other times will drive slower than the limit, even if it's not unsafe to drive the limit. I'm wondering if I've been A/B testing the system here, because sometimes I'm not in a rush and I'll just let it just laze about. And other times I'm like, why are you driving so daggum slow on this road? And especially on the ones where the speed limit is set incorrectly in the map. And I'm wondering if I've been giving them data for this argument against the Swedes here. Yeah, I wonder. So that's going to lead me into my story of yesterday. And yes, there are no cars around. Explicitly mean don't speed. If the driver wants to do so, they need to manually do so. It needs to be a judgment made at that moment by the person. Without that, the social compact of laws is greatly weakened. Okay, so while we're talking about FSD here, yesterday I got my first strike of driving FSD, and I called it unjustified. Bear with me while I open my service ticket. Upcoming appointment. Describe the question or concern. No, I don't want a new appointment. I want the one that I already got. Action required. Schedule the appointment. Service request. You guys keep trying to bring me in for your stupid software. I'm not bringing the car in for something you can fix over the air. Oh, here we go. Services, other. Customer states. Unjustified FSD strike. When the car got confused by a massive number of first responders, they then immediately accused me of not holding the wheel. I know it'll reset eventually, but I've been in the program for the entirety, and I want this strike removed since I haven't earned one yet. Service center is closed today. And then I sent them a message right after describing what happened. They did this thing. When they open the ticket, my freaking follow-up message goes away. Your service request has been reviewed. You can now schedule your appointment in the app. Scheduling your appointment. Just a heads up, your appointment hasn't been scheduled yet. Pick a date. You can message your service team using this chat. Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to see what I sent them after the fact. Check back soon. Prepare for your appointment. I want the chat. I don't like this about their new system. I do like that I can give them more details, but I don't like that they make my stuff disappear. View the request, takes me back to where I was. Where's the view the follow-up communication? Sometimes it's just in a different part of the app, which is also stupid. Action required. Yeah, they did that thing. The message is in there, but I can't see it anymore. So what happened was, after that, yeah. Oh wait, no, there's another message here. It's probably the same one. Maybe. Yeah, no, it's just in the ether. So what happened was in the what looked like a construction accident, but at first, given the amount of first responders, could have been a bank robbery for all we knew, because you had an ambulance, fire. Ambulance was way out first. So we're like, okay, this must be a situation where they're sure it's just medical, because there was nothing else around. And then, like 2 minutes later, the first police that we saw came up with it. And then another minute behind the police came fire. And then the area that we saw, it looked like somebody had either a heat injury or a falling from construction equipment injury, or worse. So all 10 cop cars and 3 fire trucks and 6 ambulances were converging on this small parking lot. And in the message I put that what had happened was the car tried to cut off the fire truck. So I pushed the brake and stayed in the suicide lane. And then the fire truck passed, so I turned FSD back on, and it got back out there. And then as we approached where everybody was going, somebody was surfing the ambulance. And what surfing the ambulance is, for those of you who aren't aware, is they're literally following the ambulance to 2 reasons. One, not allowed, completely illegal and immoral. They're using the ambulance to clear the way so they can get where they're going faster. Number 2 is the perfectly legitimate, accepted reason that somebody would be doing this. They are following the ambulance to their loved one during the emergency. I think this was that one, because then they tried to follow the ambulance and cut us off. Cut us off is not like we were trying to go through them, but they were clearly following the ambulance. So I was like, okay, I will wait. And the car was like, that's not allowed. I'm going to go. Hey, that person's cutting me off. But again, it was a small parking lot, so it looked like they were trying to figure out where they should be going to follow this ambulance through all the flashing lights, and not a lot of place to move around in there. And the car hesitated, then immediately starts flashing the hazard lights and throws up the takeover immediately, and red hands. And then it accuses me of not paying attention to the signs to hold the wheel. All of this happened in less time than if it was on the whole time that I could have earned the not holding the wheel strike. And for over half of this time, I was manually driving the car. I felt that was an unjustified strike. I have not yet earned a real strike driving FSD in, 10 years now? 8 years? It's got to be 7 years. Car's on 18. It's about to turn 10 this year. It got FSD in 19. FSD hardware in 19. I was running Navigate and Autopilot before that. So let's call this 7 years easy of running this system. I have not earned a strike. I felt that was unjustifiable. And I know they can remove it. So I submitted a ticket. And they want me to come in. I'm hoping it's just the stupid robot want me to come in, because there's no reason to bring the car in for this. Just like there was no reason to bring it in for the previous issue that I had with one of their little stealth updates, where whenever the car drew 200 kilowatts of acceleration, it would go blind. Only partially blind. It would stop seeing traffic and street signs. Or not street signs, stop seeing traffic and traffic lights. And I'd have to go park and kill power to the FSD computer and bring it back online while restarting the whole car. So there's a couple tricks for that. One is you take off the 12-volt battery, but that's not what I do. Anyway, after it came back, as long as it didn't draw 200 kilowatts of acceleration, it would be fine again. And then lo and behold, the last update we got, the car can pull 250 kilowatts of acceleration if it wants to, and it doesn't go blind. And I never brought the car in. So had I wasted a trip to a whole nother state for nothing. So anyway, that's my rant over about something else that happened. and FSD. Calm down. Anyway, we'll see what they write me back. Or if they insist that I come in. If I get another insistence to come in after they open, I'll push back. Because there's nothing in the hardware that caused it to get confused about that situation. And I saved the dash cam just in case they try to push it back on me. I can be like, here's the incident. And now that the dash cams include whether you're on FSD or not, boom, I'm good. And they can sit there and count the seconds and see the wheel twitch, and then the flashers go on, and then we get a strike. Okay, now I can try and calm down a little bit. Where's my mouse? Let's go on to the next thing. All right, so we skipped talking about the vacuum because we already talked about the vacuum on another show. We talked about lucid gravity and Sweden. And this one, I put in the notebook, but I was going to look at it before we did it, and I did not come back to it. So let's see if this is a video or a note or what. Electrex looked at the Aptera factory to see if the solar EV company is going to make it. Brian says, yeah, Casey, would you calm down a bit? Well, like I said, I haven't earned the strike. I've been driving this thing for 7 years, and the only time I legitimately earned autopilot jail, which did not earn a strike, was the 3 times I was doing 90 miles an hour with the system turned on, because I was dealing with conditions And I learned there that just turn it off before you go. So as you're signaling to do a high-speed maneuver, just push back to cancel it, and then you can do your maneuver, and it doesn't scream at you or make you go park and then unpark. And that was exactly what I did, because immediately after the nonsense, we pulled up to a red light, and I'm cussing and screaming, and I push park, I push drive, and I say, screw you, Elon, and then I keep on going. I literally said other words, but yeah, I blamed Elon for it, and kept on going. It even gave me a message about how to not earn strikes or whatever, but I was driving, so I feel you guys with the new cars and the stupid, why did you turn off FSD, cannot turn this thing off unless you pick something. I didn't have a camera on. I don't know what I picked. I just made go away, and I pushed go away. So yeah, I get the complaints of the non-dismissible, why did you turn off FSD message. I feel you, and it is freaking stupid. I mean, I already agreed logically, I get it, but to experience it, it was blocking me. I had stuff to do. And I think it probably waited till I went to park, which is not something that you guys get as a bonus. But I wasn't actually parking. I was still trying to drive. I had to get out of autopilot jail because it was a super simple drive. Why would I not use the autopilot that I paid for to have autopilot FSD do it? Auto steer. It was FSD though. Okay, now back to Aptera. We'll share this tab instead. I don't know what's on here, and it was just had Aptera and factory tour, and so I was like, ooh, maybe we can look at some pictures. It's probably a video, which meant we wouldn't be able to watch it, but let's see. I'm not looking at the words, just here for the pictures. Ooh, there's a frame. And the motor. And a jig. Oh, yeah. Skipped a few steps there, buddy. So they won't have a frunk, clearly. Is that an E-stop button like for the fireman, or is that because it's a prototype and that'll go away? Interesting. It's on the outside, though. Do you have two of them? Current collectors on battery pack. Those are either 18650s or 2170s. I don't have anything else in the frame to give me a reference, but if those are the acoustic slats that you can buy at the big box store, then I'd say they are possibly 18650s. Here, there's a caption. Okay, we'll look at some words. They are 2170s. Okay, that's where I started with, isn't it? Tara is quite open and frank during the tour. Yeah. Okay, I'll come back and read this, but I just wanted to look at the pictures. And I'm in line for the launch edition, but now that I got two children, we will see if I get a launch edition. There's still times where I would only take one child or the spouse or solo drive, so it would still be fine. It just would be less useful than when it was just me and my wife. Good article about how the significant market for Aptera, or this Aptera, you should say. But you also need to stop comparing anything to Cybercab until Tesla confirms it will be available with driver controls. Until then, it's purely a robotaxi fleet vehicle for use in geofenced areas, not an actual option for consumers. Interesting and measured take. It's amazing how far Aptera has come with just a few talented engineers on so little money. That's why it's taken so long. Well, that and they had to restart in the middle of it because private equity. Sandy, EV Manufacturing Pundit, once said that Aptera's managed to do their startup work for a small fraction of the $2 billion that legacy auto usually takes. The appearance isn't for everybody, but I looked at the design details of its performance. I am truly impressed. I sure hope they make it. I've reserved one. MMF says it's cheaper because they haven't built any manufacturing capability yet. A small hand-built shop with ultra-low volume. The expensive part is the large manufacturing capability. The reason it doesn't yet need one is because it's not a car and it doesn't have the volume yet. well, it's an auto cycle. Most of the cash bleed occurs between building production capacity and selling cars. There's going to be a lot of that through the valley of death. All right, so then the other item I pulled out into the notebook is this one. And only because we've talked about this before, this concept anyway, at least, of Illinois put community solar on a 150-year-old coal mine. We talked about this last time. The Coal Museum decided they were going to power themselves completely with solar. And so the article was secondary to that idea, that concept. Let's skim the article and see. But what even the fossils power themselves with renewable because they don't want to waste the fossils that they're going to sell to you. Should tell you a thing or two. Old coal mine in Illinois, and so this one might be a retired fossil to fossilized solar to modern solar collection. There we go. Could be interesting. NextAmp and Turning Point Energy have completed 2 community solar projects on a reclaimed coal mine site in Woodford County, Illinois. The projects turn land that once produced coal in Colchester coal seam from the 1870s to 1940s into a new source of electricity for the local grid. So now it's still making electricity, but now quite local instead of sending it off someplace to get burned. It's a brownfield site. So this goes back to where I was arguing with that guy about Nevada and electric cars and $6 gas. Is where he was arguing that, oh, we don't have land for this. One, yes, we do. And 2, you're assuming virgin lands that could be pastures and blah, blah, blah. Where we have rooftops and we have brown fields and black fields and worse, where we are not able to use the land for much. And we can turn it productive, just like this. So, well, that was the point there. Solar farms can produce 9.8 megawatts of power and use nearly 17,000 solar panels spread across roughly 40 acres. Electricity flows directly into ComEd's grid, and NextAmp says all the solar modules were manufactured in the U.S. See, there you go. I wonder where mine were made. I think most of mine are U.S. made because the ones on the roof are during that era. The ones in the backyard, the question. I just went for the lowest price there. I didn't actually look where they came from. I will look in a minute. You know what? I can look now. I've got photos. Let's go into the Photos app. And then we'll go back and scroll for a bit through a bunch of screenshots to picture the back of the panel. And keep on scrolling. More screenshots. Took a lot of screenshots. And some more pictures of my build out. Screenshots. Been a month of screenshots, hasn't it? Oh, there's my project before I got started with the physical build. But after I started collecting all the parts, I think I can make you guys a photo story and talk about the photos. Yeah, I think I can do that. I know I took a picture of the cells because I sent them off to this other company. Want to buy? Oh, that's cute. Okay, so they've gone for like a layout. That's neat. Here's a video. All right, so I had the panels before that thing broke. There we go. All right, so it's upside down for one. Can I rotate this? Edit. Crop as soon as you open. I don't want to crop. All in one edits with AI enhance. I don't want to do that either. Select to edit. Done. Rotate. Where's rotate? There. Yeah, that's the direction I want to rotate too. Usually it's not the direction I want to rotate. So that was kind of cool to see. Save. All right, look at the stats. Ooh, that's a blurry photo. I didn't realize it. It's close enough to figure out what you need, though. Specs, more specs. Fire performance is type 29, whatever that means. Maximum fuse rating is 30. Dimensions, big real dimensions. I can use that for next steps. And the weight is 53.35 pounds. Yeah, it feels like it. Got the rating. And then you got the rating on the back side of it because it's a bifacial panel. All right, where's your country of origin statement? No country of origin statement. It's rated by Intertech. Don't throw this in the trash. Electricity generation. A square, whatever the square means. You don't have a country of origin on the label. Time to go to the search engine. All right, let's see here. This, not what I wanted to see. Oh no, new tab. Okay, so let's do a search for the model number. Yeah, it's them. And they're on sale right now. That 2-pack? They are on sale right now at a 2-pack. Father's Day sale, 20% off. June 16th to the 30th. I could use more. I don't have money right now for more because I've got other stuff to deal with, like the end of the month bills. But that's kind of cool. All right, so let's see. Yeah, that is a 2-pack. That's a really good deal. You can get this item. They're listed with CEC, heavy duty. It's a manual. Skipping certification up to 585 watts, even though it's a 450 watt because of the bifacial effect. It's IP68 waterproof. Didn't realize it was that high because, well, one, I'm not dunking my panels in water, but two, I expected them to get rained on. I wonder if this also means that they would be suitable for some of those floating deals, like the California aqueduct, or some people put them on lakes. Obviously, you'd have to waterproof the connections themselves on the other end of the cable, rather than weatherproof them. 25-year warranty. Good luck collecting that if you need it. Mainly because the stuff that would happen to make you need it are rare. Dun, dun, dun. It's half cut? Oh, okay, cool. It's half cut. Didn't realize that either. Like I said, I was just looking for the price, the watts, and if they'd ship it to me without a loading dock. I could have done more due diligence on them. But that already, they turned up another model in other searches for other reasons. And that's why I was like, oh, these guys, I know them. They're on sale. Let's go. But what I'm looking for now is a country of origin. They don't say. You expect them to just blast it out, advertise it. All right, so they have an address in Irvine, California. And mine did ship from California. But ships from California and manufactured in California are not the same thing. Oh, they have an affiliate program. Maybe I'll join that and advertise them for you. Installer partner, loyalty rewards program. Hey, that might make it easier to get the other ones. A support item, credit card failed, warranty return, user manual, fax, blogs. Let's go to the fax. Where is your stuff from? LFP inverter troubleshooting. About us. Reliable. Full storage. Yeah, I can get storage from you, but I'll get it from somebody else, and did. From another Californian company. Earn the trust across North America, Europe, Australia, and Asia. Guaranteed performance, outstanding value, lasting reliability, dedicated service. Okay. But where are the panels made? Shipping was kind of cool. I put in the wrong shipping address or picked the wrong size. Can I change it? Can you ship to a P.O. box? No, they can't ship to a P.O. box. Yeah, it says no, we can't. Well, the reason I say no is because they come in a box truck. Can I pick a delivery date? Maybe. Don't care. Order, service, return exchange, Father's Day sale. Is it just on everything, or is it on certain things? They got a flash Father's Day sale up to $600 off, over $10,000, or $200 off $3,000. Oh yeah, they do have some decent looking batteries there, and an inverter. I remember they had inverters, but the ones they were offering when I was looking at that, I didn't want. They were too small, and I didn't need an inverter at all. All right, so let's see. So on this little sidetrack of mine, looks like the inverters. Interesting. All right, let's do a different search on it and see if somebody else will just tell me. Shenzhen. That's why they didn't say. Oh, they do technically drop shipping for at least these panels anyway. Okay. Yeah, I'm not objecting to the Chineseness of it. It's just like I said, I was looking for a spec, got what I needed, and then just now found out where they're actually from. Okay, back to what we were talking about. Fossilized solar versus active solar, photovoltaic. Yeah. So that was the thing. People using active brownfields to make clean power, or powering their fossil with green power and allowing them to sell more fossil, like Norway. Because they've gone EV, but they still export oil to the world. So with that, I want to thank everybody for coming through today. Brian, if you're available, I guess I'll hop on a phone call with you real quick, tell you about the project. And then the rest of you, we'll catch you on the Tesla Live show on Monday for the Express, Wednesday for Live. Catch you next week. And again, thank you for coming through. Thank you to our channel members for helping to keep this thing online. And catch you next week. Oh, and not just the channel members. Obviously, all of you guys that take time out on Father's Day to watch me be only partially prepared. I had a fun little batch of stories there, and got to talk about FSD strikes, construction, children messing with your schedules. Always fun stuff. I'm going to eat this fake chicken. So, cheers. See y'all later.